Hello, everyone. This is Isaac Hongyao Wu again. It is now, well, I used to have a weekly upload of my live stream on my experience on interpreting as a community interpreter in Victoria, Australia. But due to the fact that my wife uses this room on her, work at home schedule every fortnight, so since last video, I've been waiting for a fortnight to make this new one. And today I would like to make a video on police interpreting for Victoria Police and just some thoughts, some experience, some idea. So first of all, start first. Okay, we understand Victoria is a multicultural society, and a lot of either suspects, criminals, or even victims of crimes. They are of diverse cultural background, and many of them might not be able to speak English. Some of them they may come from overseas, such as China, India, or other countries, Vietnam, Malaysia, who doesn't speak much English or the limited English capacity. So therefore, when police try to investigate any matter that is related to a crime, an investigation, or an interview on victims of crime, they are not able to do it fluently or adequately with conducting the interview in English. In this because the interviewees do not understand or does not have a adequate level of English to provide the information that the police officer is after. So quite often, police will engage an interpreter, such as myself, a Mandarin interpreter, to assist them in conducting the interview. So there are two formats of police interview, just as any other type of interview: over the phone or on-site interview. Over the phone is very easy, mostly ad hoc basis. The police pick up their landline, the dial number, and dial the number to the interpreter's agencies, and the computer system will automatically connect to an available interpreter, such as myself. And I will just pick up my cell phone, and I will be connected to a policeman, and he will say that, okay, this is Constable ABC John Smith, and say that, well, we need you to help us out with interpreting. It's either through a suspect, a victim of crime, or just taking a statement of a witness. Okay, these things may happen. So today I will mostly talking about on-site interpreting at a police station, which I enjoy doing it, and I had a few occasions where I was assigned to attend a police interview at a station. I think I've ever been to 3 different stations in 4 police stations: the West Melbourne Police Station on Spencer Street, the Footscray Police Station, Sunshine Police Station, and the one in Doncaster, which I happened to lost my coat on my way there when I was going there on the bus. That's quite a memorable experience. So let's begin. So first of all, police jobs for interpreters, they are a very, very interesting and unique features of police assignments is time. Okay, unlike other type of work such as hospital, business, or education kind of job, most of those assignments, they will give you a pre-book time. They will basically contact you, the agency, a few days, sometimes weeks ahead of the time, and they will actually assign a particular hours from maybe 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., that kind of things, right? But police assignments, the majority of the police assignments are ad hoc assignments, where the police, they run into a matter. such as there was a burglary somewhere, there was an accident somewhere, there was a murder case somewhere. The police was doing a raid of some property, or there was an investigation conducted, and one of the suspects does not speak English. So these are unscheduled jobs. Okay, so it popped up. It could pop up anytime. It could. Once I was doing a police assignment. I think it started 9 p.m. in the evening, and it went all the way to 6 a.m. the next day. And then that brings me to the second trait of police job, is that we don't know how long a police assignment takes, and the police will tell you an approximate time. They might estimate maybe it will take an hour and a half, 2 hours to finish the interview. However, sometimes it can take for hours. Hours after hours. I remember I think one of the police job, I was told that it was in the middle of the Saturday night. They were saying that, okay, it's gonna be quick. I asked the agency specifically, and the operator spoke to the policeman, and he was telling the operator that, well, it will take us maximum 2 hours, an hour and a half. So I took the assignment. I went to the West Melbourne police station, and actually it started 9:30 and it went all the way to 6:30 the next morning. So it's a really, really long job. Okay, it's almost like a full day job. So you don't know how the majority of the case where, especially an ad hoc police assignment, you don't really know how long this task is going to take. And so it could be a challenge for you to arrange your time, unless, of course, you had another assignment after this police interview. For example, you started the interview at 5 o'clock, or should I say 10 o'clock in the morning, and you have your next assignment at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you said that, well, plus the traveling and the lunchtime, you have to leave by 12. That's okay. The police will let you go. But if you have nothing to do, you technically can stay at the police station, went on for the whole assignment for a full 8-hour day assignment. I've done it myself. So time is quite different. So coming from this, it's very hard for you to estimate how much time you need for most of the police assignment. So it comes to the next matter, is parking. Not all police station has its own parking. For Doncaster and Footscray police station, there are quite a few free public parking next to the station. And I think there are some police stations where you can actually park into the staff police parking, because you are actually one of the staff assisting them to resolve their interview case. But not all police station has free parkings for hours after hours. So if you were assigned a police assignment for an hour and a half, but it might go on for hours after hours, it may be the case that in the middle of the interview you have to stop them and have to go out and move your car a bit, or move to a designated area where you can park for unlimited amount of time. So this could be a matter. But for me, for example, in Footscray police station, there were parking available where I just drove to the police station. There were a designated parking area. I parked there for the whole night. Nobody messed with me. That's fine. And also police, actually, they care a lot about identification. They need to know who you really are. So it's just a procedure. So it's a good idea that you bring around, bring your ID, either a photo ID like driver's license, or your staff ID, like a badge that you usually wear in front of you. I do that. If I'm getting this assignment from any one of my agency, I'll carry my agency badge around with my photo, my name, my staff ID on it, so that the police can quickly identify you. And once you arrive at the police station, you go to the front counter and say that, okay, I'm coming on behalf of, I'm coming here as an interpreter from which organization. It could be a Victoria interpreting and translating service, or on call, or whatever. You go there, you tell who you are, which agency you are, and remember, on your email, your assignment email, it usually gives you a person of contact, their names and the numbers. So you can always, indicate to the receptionist, the reception staff there, or the reception constable, telling him or her that, oh, this is the person I'm looking for, the name and the number. And they usually can just get into the police station, get that person out, and this another constable or sergeant that you're after, he or she will actually guide you into the police station. So that's pretty standard. And next part, once you get into the interview room, right? Usually your job begin sometime right at the interview room, especially if you are interpreting for victims of crime. But sometimes you have to go to the police cell, like a mini jail there, in the police station, where the policeman will guide you to the cell, and they will knock on the door, open the door, and introduce you to the suspect who has been detained in the police cell. And at first, when you see your clients, as the usual protocol, introduce yourself, let them know you're the interpreter, and make sure you understand each other. Believe it or not, there were cases where the police got the language wrong and we couldn't understand each other. So make sure you understood each other, and then the policeman will guide you to the interview room, where, usually away from the cells. So it's not in the cell, the mini jail thing. You have to go into away from the detention area and go to the interview area, which looks like a normal office room. So now, after that, then the next thing you need to be aware of is you have to be comfortable under the circumstances of you being recorded. In any police interview here in Australia, they adopted the practice of recording the entire process. So usually, they will have a huge recorder right in the middle of the room on the table, and they will tilt the recorder in the camera to an angle where they will see the person being interviewed, and definitely they will have audio record. So basically, after the policeman explain the process to your client, which either be a suspect or a victim of crime, through you will have to tell them that, okay, this is how we're going to do. We're going to interview you. We will be video recorded and audio recorded at the same time. And once that's done, usually is where there's a big table in front of you. The policeman sits usually on your right side, and then the interviewee is on your left side. And usually the camera shows the interviewee, I think, yeah, it shows the interviewee for sure. Sometimes it depends on the angle. Sometimes the policeman is in as well, and you're in as well. But usually they focus the camera on the interviewee, and not necessarily. So if you don't feel comfortable, you can shift your seats a little bit so that the recorder can only catch your sound. It wouldn't catch your image. I do that sometimes, especially if I know this person is related to is a perpetrator of a violent act towards the victim. So I usually sit away. First, for my physical safety, I don't want this person to hurt me. Secondly, I don't want to be on the camera. I do that. So once that is done, you can begin. So this is a little key that you have to understand. So if you are new to the interpreting industry, and you know that, okay, your agency is offering a police interview job, before you decide whether you want to take it or not, you have to make sure that you are comfortable with being recorded on the camera. That's very important. Of course, the police will definitely protect your privacy. All this recording are only for legal purpose, administrative purpose, but it's very, I would say, almost impossible for your image to be leaked to other places, maybe in the court, but they will somehow cover you up. But you have to be comfortable to be recorded by audio and video device. And sometimes some of my colleagues feel a bit uncomfortable because everything we say, every sentence we interpret will be recorded for reference. But if you are confident, if you know that you are confident about what you heard, you know that you are capable of handling the content of the whole case, then it's okay for you to be recorded because you know you haven't made any major mistakes which may affect the whole process. Then next, after they turn on the recorder, then it comes to what I say usually the most difficult part of the police interview: caution. So according to the law, before the policeman can do anything to the interviewee or the suspect, he or she has to take out a piece of paper, okay, and it has all the caution on it. So it usually begins with, okay, this is a recording interview between ABC, John Smith, the interviewee, and the constable or the first constable, the name and the number of the constable, the policeman. And also, after they say that, they will say, with the assistance of interpreter in the language of whichever language, Mandarin or Cantonese or Spanish, and they will ask you to say your name. So, for example, I will say Hong Ya Wu. Please say your real name, the name that you register with your agency, and your badge ID. So once you say that, then they will come to the caution. So they usually begin with, I will be interviewing you, Mr. ABC, on the following matter. So they will usually come up with this. During the interview, you don't have to say or not say, you do not have to say or do anything, okay? But whatever you do or whatever you say may be served as an evidence. So this is a very important part. If you watch television, I don't know about your country, but from Hong Kong or mainland China, if you watch some TV drama, they will always say that, Mr. or Mrs. whosoever, the police is going to interview you to conduct an interview with you. During the interview, you don't have to say or do anything, okay? But anything you say or do may be taken as an evidence. So this is a caution that you must, know how to say it in your language. You can't run away from this caution. And a lot of caution, it's basic about the caution means before the whole thing began, they have to follow this process of telling the interviewee that they are under an official interview. However, according to the law, they don't have to say anything if they don't want to. Okay, this is their legal right, and the police has to follow this procedure. If they don't follow the procedure, this process can be ruined, and whatever evidence is taken, it could be something as strong as I did stab this person and kill him, but it's inadmissible because you skip the process, skip the steps. So the police will always 100%, 10 out of 10 to say this caution, telling the interviewee that they will be interviewed and they don't have to say or do anything, but whatever they say, whatever they do may be served as an evidence. So then they will have to, to make sure that, to make sure everyone's name are being said, make sure the identity is right. Then they begin the whole process. Something begin to tell me about what happened today. Where were you? The 5 W's. When were you? What time was it when you were there? When you arrived there? What have you seen? What have you done? How have you done it? What other people say? That kind of things. Just basically, it's like a storytelling time. The police will only give cue and clue about or questions about what they want to know, and it's entirely up to the interviewee to tell the story. So this is how they do police interview here in Australia, where they try to get a recollection from the interviewee, recollection of what's going on, so that they can actually, get the ideas, get the evidence they need from the voluntary narrative of the interviewee. So it's not something like, it's not anything. It's not like interrogation. Not something like, did you do this? How have you done this? No, they usually don't do that. They try to do it with a less direct way. So when you interpret, you have to go through the same style. Try to be normal, calm and casual, go as the policemen were doing, just basically, then what happened? Then what happened? Just ask questions. So yeah, and after that, after the caution, they will begin all the question: who, what, where, why, how, what happened. And usually, this is the hard part because sometimes an answer will lead to further questions. What have you done? Oh, I picked up the knife and then stabbed him. So then they'll have asked more questions. What have you done next? How many times have you stabbed him? Where were you stabbing him? Did anyone see you stabbing him? That kind of thing. So this is where things begin to go on and on and on and on. So this is the hard part where from this point on, after the caution, there's no cue, there's no expectation whatsoever of what you may expect, and this could go on maybe for another hour. Sometimes it can go for the rest of the day. So this is the hard part, and yeah, then then they try to do it, and throughout this interview, right, try to understand the meaning and the intent of the policeman. So when the police try to ask question in a particular way, it's actually a calculated, carefully worded question. And what they don't really want is that their carefully calculated meaning, well chosen wording of the question being lost in your translation. So when you try to ask a question, maybe the policeman may look quite casual, but you have to listen up carefully. Listen very carefully to their word choice. Listen very carefully to how they put things, and you try to think of the best way to express the very similar, if not the same meaning in your language, because this is really important. Every single question the police asks has a meaning, has a reason to it, and it's usually one after the other. So sometimes if it goes with the plan, actually the answers in the question actually linked up, and eventually they will have enough information to proceed with charge or proceed with whatsoever action after that. So interviewing is very important. Make sure you listen very carefully, take notes if necessary, so that you catch all the little details and intent of the policeman. At the same time, when you're listening to the interviewees, the suspect, the witness, or the victim, you have to also listen very carefully as well. And sometimes you may have to, you have to be very observant. Okay, the interviewees may just go around beating the bush, talking in a very hesitant voice, or talking in ways that it's not a normal way of talking in your language. And this is where cultural awareness and bicultural understanding comes in. So you have to catch this sort of abnormality and try to incorporate them into your interpretation, so that the police officer will understand, okay, this is where things are going. But if you are doing this monotone kind of interpreting, where whatever you heard just interpret in the same way, or do it very literal kind of interpretation, then it's actually, well, it's okay. They won't penalize you for that, but you're not as helpful as you should be, because as an interpreter, our job is to facilitate communication. Right? It's not just basically, eating in all the words and spewing out the words. Not really. That's not really the case. So, then that's throughout the interview. Listen carefully, take notes, be very aware of these tweaks, word choice, or the rhetoric that both sides are using. Sometimes it's quite fun. It's sometimes you can see that the policeman and the interviewees, they actually play game with each other. One is trying to take as much out as possible, another one is trying to hide as much as possible. It happens. Trust me, it happens. Beating around the bush, and sometimes it's quite fun for you to grasp the meaning and intent, and you try to express it in your interpretation. This is particularly difficult if you are over the phone, because over the phone, there's no visual cue. You can't see the gesture, the facial expression. So if the interviewee has been beating around the bush, not talking about the point or going around, it's hard for you to catch what exactly is going on. So, but it's okay for you to say, I'm sorry, officer. I'm sorry, sir, that I couldn't catch what he says. He's not talking in a way that is normal in my language. So it's okay for ask the person to repeat. And once you do it enough, and the officer understands you, the interviewee, they will have to adjust their strategies accordingly. So, next point I would like to make is that there are times where the interview go on for a really long time, and the policeman will come up with some ideas or some further questions, and they have to go out further and maybe talk to their colleagues, maybe come back with different questions, and they have to leave. Right? This is an important point. Never ever allow the situation where you are left with the interviewee in the same room for a long period of time. First of all, although you're in the camera, but it exposes the risk of you, the interviewee, the suspect talking to you. And when you're talking with someone, that open up the risk of you, changing or swaying your impartialities. And also, this is exactly what happened to me once. It was about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, where the suspect murder, the police was suspecting this lady as a murderer, was sitting right next to me, arms length away. And then the officer also went out. I don't know what happened to him. Maybe he was out to some drink, was for a toilet break. But I was then left locked in the same room as the suspect. Although, a year later or so, I met the same officers again, and he told me that, okay, this lady was actually okay. He was nothing to do with the murder. But I was feeling really scared. I was being locked in a room with a suspect murderer, and this could be a genuine security, safety issue. So whenever a policeman is going to leave the room, you can always request to the policeman that, is it okay if I do not stay in the same room as the interviewees, so that for the time being, or you can say it's due to my safety concern, or I just want to be impartial, and just simply as I don't feel comfortable. The policeman will understand. They will let you out. So this is a little my personal experience that I would like to share to you. And also the policeman will, they're quite helpful. So if no matter what kind of demand you had, if you don't feel well, you feel like your energy level is low, sometimes they may even offer you some candies, snacks to boost you up a bit. Water is like a basic. If you ask for water, for sure, you always get your water. Usually because we talk twice as much as the other parties, so it's definitely okay for you to request to the policeman to have the water ready for you. But my last point here, I would like to emphasize and reiterate is that always listen carefully. Always remember that you are being recorded, and try to clarify any possible misunderstanding and confusion, because you are being recorded, and whatever you interpreted could be, first, serve as an evidence against the suspect, but at the same time, you could be liable to what you interpreted. I tell you this case where it's nothing about my interpretation. I'm quite careful, when I do word choice, I try to choose neutral words. And whenever there's misunderstanding, or I think there could be misinterpretation, I always ask clarification. If the policeman was asking a question that I'm not too sure, I always say that, oh, please wait, there's something I need to clarify. Or if the answer has some confusion, I have to clarify as well. That's fine. But there were cases where this man who, claimed that my English is perfect, I can speak English, I don't need an interpreter. And throughout the whole process, which is about an hour, the suspect was talking to the policeman, entirely in English, sometimes broken English, but it was entirely in English. Although my name was there, but I don't know, somehow he later claimed to the court that he admitted to everything he did because there wasn't an interpreter. That could be an issue. And I was told to write a statement to the police to indicate that I was there, I was interpreting, I was doing my job. And I don't know what happened. Maybe the case got resolved over the court, but I heard nothing since. But it was about a year and a half later when I received a phone call from the police asking for a statement from me to prove that I was interpreting the case. And believe it or not, a few months later, I was out swimming in High Point Shopping Center, and I met this guy. I remember this person. Okay, he has done something that I would never do to my family. I remember him, and he was the one who was telling the court that there wasn't an interpreter. And believe it or not, we are in a small world. So if you met in this case, don't ever, never go up and confront them. Okay, just pretend you don't know him. You can stare at him, as what I just did. But he looked away and tried to run away from me. But don't engage them. Okay, whoever you met at the police station as a suspect or as a victim, don't engage them. Even if he or she wasn't just a victim, you don't have to engage them because you don't want to get into any confidentiality trouble, as mandated by the code of conduct. So ethics is very important. Always keep confidentiality. If you have to discuss some matter with your colleagues and friends about what you have done, always talk about the case only. Talk about what happened. Always avoid telling names. Avoid saying the dates, location. Just talk about events, what happened. So this is very, very, very important. Confidentiality is the key. So you don't want to risk yourself of being sent to court to give evidence and stuff. So try to make sure you are you follow the rules. Always interpret carefully, listen carefully. You don't have to rush. Listen up, seek for clarifications because always remember you are being recorded. So if you're being recorded, then there's a risk of you being hunt back in the future by both parties, especially over the court. So yeah, and if you're careful enough, then you should be fine. And by the way, there's one final good thing about the police job is they are not that stringent on punctualities. Police station, they can wait. So if there was a case where a ad hoc police assignment came out, and I was traveling there, and there was a bit of traffic. The appointment was scheduled at 1:00 sharp, but I arrived at 1:30. But the policemen, they were totally fine with me, and they are very easy with extension. So usually you don't have to call back to your agency to ask for permission. The police will always sign you up for extra time. It was a 1 hour booking, and then you went for 6 hours, they will sign you off immediately. So you don't have to worry about not getting paid. That's a bonus things about police job. So it's sometimes you get more pay than your expectation, and sometimes and you don't have to worry about all the admin stuff. The police people are quite helpful on this matter. It's just that make sure you listen carefully, interpret what you say carefully. If there's a word choice, if there's ambiguity, try to choose the most neutral words possible. Try not to put emotion into anything. Even if there's this person is stepping his wife or hitting elderly people over the street, it's okay. Be calm. Because if you are feeling emotional, firstly, you can always quit, saying that I had enough of this. Police understand. You still get paid. And if you choose to continue, but you choose to be, you choose to get out of the impartiality principle, then you're buying yourself future trouble. So always be careful. Always listen. Always make sure what you say is correct. Always be impartial, and always remember, keep this in the back of your mind. You are under video record and audio recording, and people can always come back to you. So this is the key lesson that you have to know from doing police interpreting. So at the end, Okay. At the end of the police interview, thank you very much and stuff. And there are things such as matter dealing with taking fingerprints. And there's one phrase very interesting: appropriate force. Okay, when they say I may, if you refuse to provide your fingerprint, the police may apply appropriate force to attempt obtain your fingerprint. That is a very, very important word, force. When you interpret these words, try to take it as a neutral force, like force of gravity. When you use a verbal or verbal interpretation of force, it could go against you because they say they will force me to provide fingerprint to the police. So when you say force, right? Force means some sort of energy that may, such as pressing your finger on the machine. That's so-called force. They will not twist your arms and force you to provide fingerprint. So this is usually at the end of the interview where the interviewee is required to provide their fingerprint. So when you always hear the word force, try to use the most neutral interpretation of the word force in your language. So that's very, very important. And yeah, sorry, I just have to get rid of this because I think my face is being covered. Yeah, that's much better. Sorry. Yeah, so the word force is very important because you don't want to misinterpret anything and leave the impression of that, oh, the police say that they will force me to do it if I don't consent. No, be very careful. In Mandarin, always say 力量. Don't say something like 武力, 暴力. This is not right. They're not using any physical force against you. Force is appropriate force. Now they press you a little bit, a bit of force. So sorry about this, the sunlight. And this is something also pop up in my mind because I think there were a few cases where my colleagues mentioned about this. When you interpret the word appropriate force to collect fingerprint, do not think that they will force the interviewee in providing the fingerprint. They will use force to hold the hand and put on the machine and press it against the machine to collect the fingerprint. That's it. Okay, that's the force. That's in the sidetrack. And if you ever goes into a police interpreting assignment, remember force means appropriate, power that they apply on the hand. It's not a verbal word where they force you to provide fingerprint. So this is a little thing in the sideline. And after that, just like usual, you get yourself sign off, and the police officer may ask you for your details, your name, your email, your staff ID for further correspondence. Sometimes there were cases where they try to get back to me. They say, "Oh, in the future, if I have to come back to this case, can I request for your service?" Of course you can. That opens up a future opportunity for you to make money. Why not? So establishing a good relationship with your client is a good practice, no matter where you go. So this also applies in the police setting, especially if you live near a police station and you go there quite often. Yeah, so that's basically all I want to say about the police interview. And I hope you enjoy. And if you like this video, always you can like this video, share this video, and most importantly, no matter you are a future interpreter, you are a potential user of police service, I hope this video helps you in the understanding of how you have to react or what you may expect to see in a police setting with interpreters being present. So wish you a great day. Thank you.